And the title of his speech, A Story About Adding Consumer and Financial Value to Your Product. Advanced Communicator Daniel.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster today, for this kind introduction. Fellow Toastmasters, valued guests, tonight I'm going to be talking about this product, this brand. It's sweet condensed milk, the brand Carnation, which I took care of a couple of years back when I came to Thailand. And I want to tell you what I did with this. This is an arrogant little son of a can. The reason why is because this can aims to make so many different types of customers happy, like from industrial operators, hospitality people, bakeries, street vendors, large families, small families, kids. All of them are supposed to be happy with one format, one can. But the reality is that it's not happening like this, because the operators in the industry, they expect it to be cheaper because they're using a lot of product. And for families, it's too expensive too, because eventually they end up using half the can and throwing it away. So nobody is really happy, except some people. The people in the factory are really happy about it because it reduces the complexity in their factory. So they can scale up economies or scale up to the maximum. And this is fantastic for them. Now keep in mind that this category has been around for 150 years. It has always been in a can, and it's been like this. So it seems that everyone is accepting all these packaging tensions in silent resignation. But I had the intention, and this is probably one of the reasons why this category has been drifting towards commodity over the last decades, is because it was completely manufacturing driven. And no one ever cared about the consumer experience. And this is something I intended to change. I wanted to change the status quo. It was pretty obvious that all the research and the observations were telling us that there was something to be done about the packaging. So to cut the story short, based on our analysis and our brainstormings, we figured out that we would like to fill this product in a 2-kilo pouch. So the concept is pretty simple. The cost of this can, I mean, I'm not talking the retail price, but the cost of the tin plate is 2 baht. So imagine filling 5 of these cans in a big pouch. So you got 5 times 2 is 10 baht, and the pouch costs us 3 baht. So we're saving 7 baht. We're going to give away half of this to the operators, and we're going to keep half of it for us to improve our profitability. So in other words, how does it look? Operators could have a price which is 10% cheaper per kilo, and we would have a profitability, EBITDA as we call it, which would rise by 8 to 10%. So it's great. So the concept is pretty easy. Everybody understands it. Now comes the challenge to implement it. The first challenge was to do a feasibility test. We're in the dairy product, so you cannot just pack this in any kind of pouch. Safety and health are non-negotiable. You need to do the shelf life tests. You need to do transportation tests. You need to do or find the filling lines and all this stuff. So eventually we passed all of this. Next step, for those who work in corporations, know that getting the CapEx or the capital expenses approved is not an easy task. Eventually we get this, but keep in mind this is a high-speed factory designed especially to fill a lot of cans and only one can. And this new format would eventually have a strategic impact on the layout of the factory. So that means we need to go back to headquarters in Switzerland. At that time there was no Zoom, so many trips back and forth to discuss. So very challenging. Eventually we passed this. Challenge number 3, convincing the salespeople. And this is where I failed. salespeople were completely against it. They said it so many times to me during my projects here. They said, Daniel, you don't understand Thailand. You're not even new here. You're already here for 2 years. You still don't understand that these street hawkers, they have their rituals. They like to scoop out the product from the can, and this is part of their show, etc., etc. So this is not going to work. And I believe this is the first time, or the only time in my career, where I had to use or leverage on my position to push down this concept down their throats. And they did not like this, obviously. So they didn't want to sell it, so they were just moving very, very slowly and finding all the possible excuses that it's not going to work. For example, once you open the pack, it will attract dust, it's not hygienic, the guys don't know how to scoop it into the cups, they don't know how to close the bag, they cannot finish it by the end of the day. And these were great insights they were telling me, because I realized that they're actually talking to the wrong people. They had to go and see progressive customers, like Amazon, or the ones which have franchises, the ones who are interested in improving their business on a day-to-day business. So that's where the fire broke out, and the whole thing started to catch fire, and this is the product that you might have seen. And very quickly, sales grew very fast, and the profitability grew very much, became a strategic product. And as I'm talking now, this product is making 60,000 tons, so that means nothing to you. It means 30,000 packs, 30 million packs per year sold in Thailand, which makes it bigger than the can is today, and it's generating most of the profitability of the category. So that's the story I wanted to tell you. To conclude, what I want to say is it's not just about having ideas. It's the implementation which is really hard, because people are always against new ideas. There's so many hurdles in any organization to implement this kind of things. And if you don't have a clear vision on where you're going, you will eventually run out of steam. And the only way not to have this is to have a clear vision. And in my case was to segmentate the category, to have products which were meant for the operators, and creating products for the in-home consumers. Now you might wonder, what products did I create for the in-home consumers? That's a good question for another presentation. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Advanced Communicator Daniel. I listened to these various stories, and it reminded me when I first got here, I was doing a course, and I was surprised that in Thailand,